Hey everyone, this is Erica, the host of the Just Say Maybe podcast slash the creator of the Just Say Maybe YouTube channel that is kind of new now. I'm here with my friend Tara. She is coming at me, not coming at me, coming, what is it, tuning in from Chicago, whatever. What is the term? She is joining me from Chicago. Yes, there you go.
There
Not
it
coming
is.
at me. But so disclaimer, me and Tara have known each other for a long time. So this is definitely going to be more chit-chatty. I mean, generally my podcast episodes are chit-chatty anyways because I like to make it feel like a conversation, even though I'm still kind of interviewing people about their mental health stories. But because me and Tara kind of have talked about this conversation before, generally we just wanted to kind of base it on, I think, essentially on the video that Tara saw of me being on SBSK and then relating to that. So I think it's going to be a lot of just maybe some conversation, less questions. I'll probably ask some questions to guide us through, but we're just going to see how it goes. Yeah. So, Tara, um, do you want to, I guess, give a little background as to how we met?
Oh my gosh, how we met.
Yeah.
It was like
I
in
actually don't
sixth
really remember.
grade.
I know.
I don't really remember either. I just remember like hanging out with you and Nancy and like that was just that. Like
Yeah.
you and Sunday. And Sam. We all kind of I don't know, we all just fell into a group at a certain point.
Yeah.
I don't really remember how. It must have been sort of in the beginning of the year because it feels like we hung out like since then, like all through middle school.
Yeah, I don't really remember. I don't think we actually had that many classes together in middle school, but I think we just sat at the
Yeah.
same lunch table or something. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I might have had classes with Sunday actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably it. And then she introduced you to me or vice versa. And then
Yeah.
yeah, so
I
yeah,
literally can't remember almost anything from that time period
I
other than like
know.
funny stuff.
Don't
Like I
you
can't
worry
remember
about that
like my
sometimes?
teachers.
I sometimes
No, I
worry
think
that like I
Mhm.
blocked out something bad. And
I
that's why I
think
can't
that
remember
too
anything.
sometimes, or like I used to, but then I started reading about how your brain is like more like a computer and it can only hold so much at like once. So
Hmm.
it only remembers the things that you keep kind of going back to, like that your what is it, the pathways or something
Hmm.
stay connected because you keep using certain memories, and then it throws away like the stuff that isn't being used
Hmm.
to make room for like stuff. And since as we get older, I feel like we're always, well, at least like you and me and a lot of us are still like trying to learn new things. So like as we're like learning new things, your brain has to make space by getting rid of like other stuff that you don't need to know, which is usually just random like facts about like what classmates I had in sixth grade and like what my English teacher was,
Right.
things like that. Um,
Yeah.
but then there's like the things that are like from forever ago that you remember because they're like traumatizing.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. It's like I can't I toggle between only remembering negative things and then not remember
Uh-huh.
anything else because
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like middle school was a lot of drama. Um
Mhm.
Unnecessary
Yeah.
drama. Like I feel like
Yeah.
elementary school, I mean we didn't go to the same elementary school, but elementary school was like okay, everything's fine. Like everyone's kind of
Yeah,
teasing each other
everyone got
once in a while.
along. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fine. And then all of a sudden, in middle school, shit just hit the fan. Like everyone's hormones were going crazy. And I just remember, you know, I think that was kind of the rise of a certain type of social media. We were on MySpace a lot. We were
Mhm.
on
Yeah.
Zanga a lot.
Zynga.
And yeah, then there was all you just weird drama that was
Yeah.
um
No,
so
yeah, I remember everyone kind of got like mean-hearted, I feel like. Like I just remember
yeah.
like being like I don't want to be the person that like is getting made fun of by XYZ or like whatever,
Yeah.
so I'll just like fly under the radar and like
Yeah.
yeah, I just remember like just seeing people like get made fun of like a lot. And like there are some things that people like would say to me, but like I wasn't like a consistent like person who was like a victim of any like type of bullying. It would just be every once in a while somebody would say something like rude or snide about like what I was wearing or something like that. And yeah, but I was just like people are just mean. Like
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. And I kind of feel like it's easy to get in that mentality, like you said, because you don't want to be, you also don't want to be bullied. So you're like both not defending people, slash maybe you're participating a little
Yeah.
bit yourself because you don't want to
Hmm.
seem like the odd one out. Um,
Right.
so I definitely can remember instances in middle school and high school where I just was mean because everyone else was being mean or because
Hmm.
I wanted to be cool or something like that or edgy.
Hmm.
I really feel like it was me trying to be edgy.
Edgy.
Yeah.
That's a
So,
good one.
yeah. I mean, so I know you said you listened to a few of the podcast episodes. So I
Hmm.
typically ask everyone just what is something that you wish everyone knew about you, but most people don't.
Oh gosh. Dang, I wish you would have prepped me with these so I could have thought about them
You
because
said
now I'm
you
like,
listened.
oh, well, yeah, but like I don't remember all the questions
That's true, but
though.
that's the
Like,
first one. That's like the first one to
yeah,
get into.
okay. Hmm, that I wish people knew. I don't know if I wish people knew anything specifically. I feel like I'm actually the type that's just like, nah, it's okay. Like,
How about let me
I
rephrase
won't
it.
tell you.
Let me
Yeah,
rephrase it.
do it
What do you think is
while my wheels are
a
turning.
common assumption about you that's not true?
Oh, okay. That I take everything really lightly.
Oh,
I come off
interesting.
super easygoing, like,
Yeah.
but I'm a big, like, soft, like, marshmallow on the inside, but I do a very good job of making sure nobody notices
Oh,
that.
yeah, I can
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, remember like in high school, or well, we didn't go to the same high school, but like you probably remember Sam, and like people would be like, "Oh, Tara doesn't have any feelings," da da da, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that was practiced. So, because Tara had a
Mm,
lot of feelings,
yeah.
so I had to make sure it looked like I didn't have any feelings. But like as I got older, like I thought that was like who I was, and then as I got older, I'm like, gosh, like why am I crying all the time and all emotional and shit? And then I was like, oh, wait, that's like what you're actually like, and you're just pretending to be the robot like
Mm,
person.
yeah. You're like
Now I
putting
feel like
on
I,
like a tough girl kind of act.
yeah, now I feel like I'm like, I like am super like lighthearted like outwardly and like ha ha everything's joke like nothing bothers me really kind of like that's what my defense mechanism or whatever it is, or like that's what I do with like most people like that I don't know that well, which is like almost everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
That's a really good. Actually, I think I hadn't really thought about it that much, but I think that that's good for me to know too because we
mhm,
kind of have talked about that a little bit, but I think
mhm.
you do generally have a demeanor that kind of is more like you not don't mess with me, but like you can't really mess with me even if you tried.
Right,
Like I
right.
feel like that's your demeanor is kind of just I mean it's like badass, but it's just I think people kind of forget that even people who have that kind of demeanor also have
Hmm.
feelings underneath. So
Yeah.
you said it was practiced. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Like my robotic thing
Yeah.
from high school. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know like when it started, but mm, like it's kind of hard to like always like think about like how I was like in middle school before high school. It all like blends together, so I don't really in my head, so I don't really have like a super clear like timeline in my head as to like when because I feel like I was still more carefree like in middle school, so I'm not sure like when down the line I started to like feel like I had to like hide like some of that more. Um, but definitely it had to do with like kind of like having like a lot of big emotions when I was younger, and like it was kind of like shunned, like because it's like, oh, it's too much, like for whatever it was at the moment, kind of like the same thing like a lot of people still say to kids. It's just like, oh, it's just XYZ, like it's no big deal, or like you're making a big deal out of this. Um, but that didn't actually help me because I really probably just wanted someone to like validate and be like, yeah, that sucks, or like you're having a hard time.
Yeah.
So instead, I was kind of taught like, oh, okay, like nobody wants to see that, so don't show it, like kind of
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
it just became my high school persona of like, yeah, I don't care about anything, like whatever, like blah blah blah. And like, yeah, I think I felt cool and edgy at the same time.
I mean, it's kind of cool to like not care, you know?
Right? Like, why is that like a thing?
Id gaff. yeah, I mean, I mean, it's interesting because I've had a very similar conversation with another friend about, how it seems like we were all three, like me and my other friend and you, had these like very strong emotions from an early age, and each one of us was told that we were being oversensitive or over emotional or just like making a big deal out of nothing. And maybe that is something that clicks with some children, but I feel like with
Mm-hmm.
others, it just feels like no one cares about you or no one actually
Mm-hmm.
understands you. And the
Mm-hmm.
more it happens, the less you think other people will ever care about your feelings. So you
Mm-hmm.
might as well just like not make people feel uncomfortable, and
Mm-hmm.
just kind of hide them. But at least I think that's what
Yeah.
happened. It sounds like that's kind of what happened with you and my other friend is like you kind of
Mm-hmm.
maybe internalized it more and didn't show
Yeah.
emotions as much. But I
Mm-hmm.
think for me, it was the opposite. It was like, you won't listen to me. I'm just going to scream louder and I'm going to cry more until you get
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't hear me when I'm just crying a little bit and tears are running down, I'm going to just like make sure you can hear me. And I would bawl.
Yeah.
Like, I would just, me and my dad would get into screaming fights all the time because I
Mm-hmm.
felt like he wasn't listening to me. Um,
Yeah.
so it's just interesting how it kind of manifests differently based on,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, your general disposition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like what I've like come across just like being all introspective and like whatever is I feel like it also like the shunning of the feelings also kind of created like this inward like belief that like somehow like something was wrong with me for it, or like I was inherently wrong, because it's just like if you're feeling like this and it's just like you shouldn't be, then like I still am, then something must be wrong with me, and so I don't want anybody to know that, so I'm just gonna like try and mute it as much as I can. And it's
Yeah.
just like, but then that like literally down the line, it's just like, whoa, hi, shitty self-esteem. What's up? Like,
Yeah. And it kind of
yeah.
leads to, I feel like, distrusting or distrusting your own emotions and how valid they are, and then also kind of
Yeah.
gaslighting yourself. Like,
Yeah.
did that really happen the way that I felt like it
hmm
happened?
Yeah.
Like,
Or should I be feeling this right
right,
now? Or
yeah,
like should I be like thinking this and da da da? It's like,
yeah,
ugh.
right. So then, which is, it's like, oh, I like that kind of is a interesting question, and maybe that's like a
hmm
question that can help you grow, but at the same time
hmm
it can help you miss a lot of things that actually are really wrong, because
hmm
you've been told for so long or you've internalized for so long that everything you ever felt was an overreaction, and so even the
hmm
things that are really bad, you can't tell if they're like bad anymore because it's just like,
Right. That's totally something that I still like struggle with. It's like I went through this long phase of like rationally, like now that I'm like, oh, like I here are my feelings, I'm like rationally like, well, where is it coming from, sort of thing, which is like good to like start with. It's just like, okay, like what is the thought that like led to this feeling and all of that stuff. But then I can get caught up just thinking about like the feeling and like trying to rationalize it away. Like, okay, like, yeah, I'm feeling this way, but like, this was just like a misunderstanding or like whatever. So kind of like, I don't know, like, this should solve the problem, but I'm still feeling like X kind of way. And then I keep, you always see the advice like to be with your feeling. And like, I feel like that's something that I like would forget to do. And I still sometimes like forget to do is just to like allow it to be instead of being like, okay, like I know what's causing it now, go away. It's kind of like you're not totally honoring it like within yourself. Like if you're only focused on like solving the problem. And like, I feel like in a lot of times, sometimes it's just not fully going to be solved. Like it's not always like I'm probably still going to have like the same like feelings or issues. And like even though I know like what's causing them, it's not going to make me not feel it. But
Yeah.
yeah, sitting with it's hard. Like
Yeah.
making
I
my
think
brain stop. Like just shouldn't feel.
I
It's like
know.
what?
I think the point of sitting with it, I kind of realized, is that it it helps you not jump to conclusions as much, because if the feeling is like fleeting, like for example, if I don't know, let me just gonna give an example, like if someone's late to like a meeting or a party and
Hmm.
the feeling is you're annoyed, if you don't
Hmm.
just allow yourself to just be annoyed, you might just kind of start to like you'll feel annoyed, but then some questions will start to come in as to like, oh well, like this person doesn't like me anymore, or this person's not valuing my time,
Hmm.
or
Yeah.
whatever. Like you start to make all these like jumps,
Right. Yeah.
assumptions, whereas like really what you're actually feeling is annoyed. But if you don't
Yeah.
allow yourself to feel the full level of annoyance, then you might
Hmm.
start to feel rejection and all these other things.
Hmm.
So that's what I think. I don't know. Might
Yeah,
not be
yeah.
based in science or anything.
I know. Yeah. It's honestly, I don't have a degree in science or psychology or anything. I'm just speaking from experience.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, yeah. It's like allowing yourself to like have those feelings and like I feel like part of it like of the thinking through it kind of thing, it distracts you and allows you not to have to deal with it very much. And instead you're just like looking like on the outside instead of like inside, so you're looking at that other person like they don't like me or like this and that, instead of just being like it's okay to like feel annoyed. Like it doesn't make you like a bad person to be annoyed like with your friend or like things like that. But I feel like
Right,
we like avoid
right.
like especially we avoid trying like feeling negative feelings like I feel like in relation to like people that we love and stuff, because then it's like, oh, I must be bad because I can't just like um what's the word, unconditionally like accept them like every single time, like
Yeah, yeah,
so.
yeah. Oh my God, yeah,
But like
yeah.
you can't, like we can't always do
I
that,
think
but it's like we
unconditional
have
love
this.
feels like a little bit of a trap to me sometimes. Cause
Sometimes I think it's like impossible because like to have like a healthy relationship in general, there's like
there's some
boundaries, and don't
conditions.
boundaries kind of create conditions? Like so I'm like you can't just walk all over me and shit on me and
Yeah,
like that's okay and I love
exactly.
you. Like that's not how that
No,
works. I think it's kind
exactly.
of like,
Yeah.
yeah. I
I
mean, I
think
feel like with pets it's possible.
that's true. That's true. I give them a little more leeway because, yeah, they don't know
Right,
any better
yeah.
or whatever. But sometimes I still get pissed, man. Oh my God.
I get annoyed with my cat for sure.
It's just like, and then I get kind of annoyed because, like, for example, my orange cat Sunshine, like he always likes to, if I let him in my room in the morning, he likes to sometimes just like peek at me from the floor onto, like, you could just see his eyes over my bed, and then I look
Yeah.
at him and he jumps up and smacks me in the face, like with his
Oh
paws
my
out.
gosh.
And I'm like,
Oh
why did you do that?
my
And then
gosh.
sometimes he'll like jump up on me, and then I'll just like shove him off, and then he'll accidentally like go into like the wall or something, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like it's
Oh,
like it's like I shoved you because you were clawing at me, and then
yeah,
now it's like, okay, well, I forgot I was stronger than you, and
yeah, right.
but I mean, it's kind of like
Oh,
I think it maybe that's a little bit, I don't know, of an analogy, is like it doesn't help when you meet someone with the same level of aggression because you might
hmm,
push harder. Um,
yeah.
Anyways, that's just to say I do not like abuse my cats or anything. It's just that in the mornings when he smacks me in the face with his claws out, like I try to get him off
Oh
me. So
yeah. That's like that's super that's like way too much for like waking up, personally.
it's
I'm
only in
so
the
glad.
mornings too. So
Ooh,
he
yeah.
really,
I'm super cranky in the morning
yeah.
too. Calypso just meows like a lot, like, and I get like super annoyed sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, like shut up, and then I feel bad for yelling at her when I wake
Right.
up, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but like at the same time, you've been waking me up like every like 20 minutes or like just nonstop meowing, and like my alarm hasn't gone off, so like leave me alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
But I mean, yeah, all of that is
children.
to say is that, like, yeah, you just like you think of them as kind of your children, and you don't think that they know
Yeah.
any better. So it's like it's
Hmm.
fine. I forgive you, and you're still
Hmm.
my cat, and I'm still gonna pay
Yeah.
rent and food for you every day.
Yep. Hmm.
So, um,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
yeah, but I think in terms of relationships with humans, it's a little bit
Hmm.
different.
It's much more complex.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I kind of wanted to ask you because I was curious, and I know we kind of literally saved this conversation to have to be
Right.
recorded, which was so
Hmm.
you said you watched the Special Books by Special Kids video on
Hmm.
me talking about
Hmm.
like Pure O and everything. So, and you said you
Hmm.
related to some of it. So I just
Hmm.
was curious, like, what did you relate to?
One of the things was how you talked about like your orientation
Oh
and
yeah.
how you were like, oh, like if I find like this person attractive, like does it mean that I still want to be with like my significant other and stuff? And I've totally had like thoughts like that where I'm just kind of just like, what does this mean to like be like, oh, like I recognize like this, and also like I would say like women too sometimes, but I don't really, I usually like let that like slide. I'm like if I'm just like, oh, like she's pretty, like, but like how so? Like in what
Mm,
ways do you find? Because I'm also like I identify as like ace too, so it's kind of like a little more like complicated with like the attraction. It's not like sexual, it's like more like romantic and like aesthetic. So I'm always like kind of like, is it aesthetics? Like, what is this? Does this mean like I want to be with like a woman or some other man? And I'm like, no, it's just I feel like my brain just doing stuff. Like, but I do kind of just like, what does it mean? And I
mm,
have to remind myself like not every thought that I think like has to have some like deep like meaning or like reflection of like who I am. Like sometimes I have to just be like, it was a thought, and I'm just like, it doesn't really matter in this moment. And if it does, it'll come up later, and we'll deal with it like again, or like, you know what I mean? But it's
yeah.
kind of like the idea of just like a thought will just send me like wondering about like gosh, like now I'm like a bad person because now I'm thinking like this other person is like good looking and like Kirk is like right over here, but like it's at the same time, it's just like I feel like everyone's sort of like that, possibly. Like you
Mm,
can't turn off like
mm-hmm.
your ability to see like other people, and like I assume like he's like the same. Like I'm not the most beautiful, like perfect girl in the world, you know. There's plenty of beautiful people out there, and like
Yeah.
so I kind of just try and tell myself like it's okay. Like it's you're not bad, and like everybody thinks stuff like this
Mm.
from time to time, or at least I assume so. Like I don't know what everybody thinks. I'm not in the universal
That's
consciousness.
true. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. It does sound pretty similar to the thought patterns I have sometimes, I think.
Hmm.
Um, I wonder if is it something that's recently come up more, or if it's kind of always been
I
there?
think it like pops here and there, like at like random times. So I'm not really sure, like, because I usually just try and like brush things off, and I'm just like, I'm not like dealing with this like right now, which is like the total difference between like you and me is the fact that I can like be like, push that away because I'm not dealing with that, or like I don't actually think this is a big deal that needs like my focus and attention right now. Whereas like from where I was listening to your interview and like also like in your podcast, it's like you're like kind of stuck there, right? Like you and like it totally just feels like you can't like escape. And I'm just like, that's hard. And it makes me think like, wow, my ability to do that is like awesome because like I can't imagine
That's true.
like yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it depends.
Hmm.
I have been in therapy for like a year now consistently, so I'm definitely better at not at moving past it and kind of
Yeah.
delaying the urgency. But yeah, in the
Hmm.
beginning, it was just like hours. I remember
Mm.
one time I was on a plane, and it was did you know it takes like 5.5 hours, 6 hours to fly to California? It's ridiculous. Anyways,
Oh.
yeah,
Mm.
I was reading a book the entire time, and I
Whoa.
literally was like checking my attraction to the people in the book. Never seen a picture of it. Just the image I
Yeah.
had conjured in my mind. Like,
Yeah.
and I remember just being so frustrated because I was like, this is so OCD. Like, in like the most
Oh.
literal sense. Like, this is literally the
Yeah.
definition. I'm so self-aware of it, but
Yeah.
I can't get out of it. And it was the entire flight, like 6 hours straight.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
like, even if it's not OCD, like it's like messed up. Like this is not healthy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
regardless of what
yeah.
this is, like because I sometimes the meta obsession that a lot of people with OCD get is
Mhm.
like it's not OCD and you're just in denial and you're just
Yeah.
actually a bad person and like
Oh,
either for
yeah.
like thinking these things in your relationship or for having like
Hmm.
other intrusive thoughts that
Hmm.
you don't want. So um, yeah,
Hmm.
so I mean, yeah, recently I have noticed that like the obsessions that come up within me don't last for as long. Um,
Hmm.
and I mean, I don't know about you, but like typically with OCD, it's kind of like the theme of your obsession. Oops, what happens when I touch this? Does it?
Nothing really.
Did you hear anything? Oh, okay.
Oh,
um,
I don't think so.
oh, okay. Yeah, so like typically with OCD, the theme of your obsession varies over time and it kind of
Hmm.
adjusts based on what's important to you in your life or a
Yeah.
triggering
Hmm.
or traumatic point in your life. And
Hmm.
like for me, the onset was honestly being in a healthy relationship,
Hmm.
which is ironic and really frustrating because it's like, oh my god, I like left this really really long unhealthy relationship, and now I'm in a healthy relationship and I'm making it unhealthy by looking for it was like my brain was like you have to save this relationship no matter what, so then it was kind of like
Hmm.
throwing any kind of scenario that seemed to be threatening to me in my brain,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
which is just kind of like what OCD is based on is like an
Yeah.
overactive amygdala. So like the
Hmm.
fear part of your brain is just
Yeah.
you start to
Mm.
see threats everywhere and then sometimes like
Mm.
intrusive thoughts pop up because your brain is trying to warn you that this is a possibility kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so anyways, I guess my question to you is just kind of like, do you feel like there's been other times in your life where you've had, I guess, those kind of thoughts, just like thought patterns, but not necessarily around
Hmm.
that topic?
Let me think. Um, I guess like when you were saying like the meta thing, like I like never got like diagnosed with like depression or like not like for real. I tried to go to somebody to get diagnosed and she was just like really weird. She was just like, well, I mean, I don't know if this is weird because I only went to like one person and I just decided like not to go ask anybody else because I just didn't care enough to anymore. But she was like, So depression is kind of just like it's like varies from person to person. So like something that like feels like not so bad to you, it might be like really bad to someone else. So it was kind of like it kind of felt like she was telling me like, well, what do you think? Do you have it? Or like do you feel like you do? Because you're your best like you're like the best like person to figure that out. And I'm like, I literally came here to see if I could get diagnosed because I've been wondering like am I just overreacting or do I actually have like something wrong with my brain? Like I like was trying to figure that out because I just like kept being like, am I normal? Am I like not normal? Like is this like depression and this would explain why I'm like this? Or am I just like is there something just wrong with me and like I just don't know like how to like deal with it. It was like super irritating. I don't know. After that, like I think
Did that
was
turn
she
you
like
off
the last
therapy?
person? I like I'm like trying to think if she was like the last person that the thing about me in therapy is like I would always like jump in when after like I had like just like a bad like spiral episode of like just flipping out and like then afterwards I'm just like oh yeah something's wrong here like I've got to go see somebody and then I would go to someone like a couple times and then just be like
You
like
feel
I don't
better.
really like that person yeah or I feel better or I'm like I don't know if I want to keep going with this person but like since I'm not like having a hard time like I'm going to postpone like finding somebody else until like another one would hit and then he'd be like wow like I'm losing it like I've got to go see someone and it like was like a pattern like this for a while until like gosh maybe like a couple of years ago I started just trying to I don't know like listen to myself more and like because the thing about therapy is like I had a hard time like fully opening up because I have a hard time fully opening up to like anyone that I just meet and like
Hmm.
I guess I was impatient about like how long it would take to build a relationship or like distrustful and just be like, oh, that person's like not for me or like that person isn't gonna understand and I just don't feel like, you know, going through all of that. But slowly I was able to kind of just like face like my like past and like my childhood and I started making like links between like some of my behaviors and like stuff where that might have come from and that like helped a lot. Um, so I did kind of stop going to therapy. I don't know if it was that woman specifically. I think I might have seen one person after them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I thought of, sorry, when you were talking, I thought of an
Oh, it's okay.
analogy,
That was
which
a lot.
is, okay, this is, I need to give you context first. Have you
Sure.
seen, do you ever watch like TLC or the TLC YouTube channel or something? I don't know.
No, actually.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know it.
There's this, I can't remember I think the show is called My Feet Are Killing Me or something. It's kind of like Dr. Pimple Popper, except it's not what are they called? I don't even know. What are people called when they do facial, like a dermatologist, I guess. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's not a dermatologist or anything. It's like podiatrists. It's people who specialize in
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
Feet people.
feet medicine,
Hmm.
I guess. I don't even know what you call it. Podiatry, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that sounds right.
yeah, yeah. And so there was this one episode that was on the channel, and apparently this woman I think she had broken her ankle or something, and then the surgeon who had done her surgery 10 years ago or something
Mhm.
didn't properly either like sew it up or give her proper like
Oh.
healing procedures or something went wrong.
Mhm.
And when they looked at her foot in this most recent episode, which I think was 2021, it had been like 10 years since that surgery, and they were like, you've been
Mhm.
walking on a broken foot for 10 years. And
Ugh.
it's like I guess my analogy is kind of like she had that breaking point, right? And then she sought help.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, like I'm dealing with it. So it's like there's
Yeah.
still some things happening here and there, but like I'm
Hmm.
managing and I haven't like, there's nothing big happening. But then it's kind
Hmm.
of like because you never fully healed that broken ankle or foot, it kind of just gets worse over time. And that's what was happening
Mm-hmm.
with her. Her ankle was like so swollen. Um,
Ah.
yeah, it was like really messed up. So
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to
Oh.
say is like if you get hurt, sometimes you only seek help to kind of cover up that wound and like heal the most like superficial wound, but sometimes there's something
Mm.
deeper that is probably lasting, and if you don't get the proper treatment for
Yeah.
it, then it can get
Yeah.
worse. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's sometimes what happens with therapy too. It's
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
this big thing happens, you go, and
Yeah.
then you feel okay, and you're like, well, I guess it was just
Yeah.
one off, but then it just keeps happening
Yeah.
more.
One and done. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I wanted like someone to like listen and like validate me, but probably because I didn't know how to do that like for myself. Like, because I'm like, I need somebody to tell me like I'm not like crazy for like thinking this or like feeling like this. I feel like was a lot of the times.
Hmm.
And I think like what like made like those like really bad points was like my inability to like trust myself. And like so it was just like this kind of like why are you like this? And like you'll always be like this. And like you'll always be this messed up. And like that was like that's like the worst kind of feeling. Like the you'll never change and like you're always like the what do you call them? They're like what words are those? They're like not definitive or like whatever words that mean like forever, always, and
Chronic.
like never. Yeah, I don't remember. There's like a name for words like that. Like those things like make you feel like super hopeless. So I'm like telling
Oh,
myself that. So like I'm just like I couldn't like actually just be like, hey, like you're just be like, hey man, like be like the inner parent for my inner child at the moment and just be like, you're not like crazy and you're not always going to be like sad or upset or like it's okay that these things are like hurting you even though it seems like it's not a big deal. Like it doesn't make you like bad or broken or crazy or all of that stuff. But because like I didn't know how to tell myself that, like I was just like believing all of that stuff, which like literally just you fall into like a hole and you're just like, wow, I'm
yeah,
like fucked forever kind of thing. And it's
yeah.
just like that kind of thing. But like now I'm like, oh, like parenting myself sort of thing, like inner child stuff, I think I like really needed. And like I didn't know any of that stuff like back then. And I feel like just, I don't know, I feel like some things had just like kind of like slowly over the years started like falling into my lap and like clicking for me. And I was like, oh, I can like use this, like, or I think this is like what I needed. And I ended up getting it like other places like books and like articles as opposed to like therapy, but like in reality, I didn't really give them that much time to really get to know me. So that was also that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it would have been faster for me if I like stuck with someone or if it was, I mean, I guess all in the end, like it all ends well, I suppose,
Mm,
because like I feel like I'm much in a much better place than I like was like for a long time.
yeah.
So I'm like, yay.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the statistics are on how many times it takes someone to kind of go to therapy for it to be longer
Mhm.
lasting, but I'm sure
Yeah.
it's you're not the only person who, not to like
Yeah.
minimize like, oh, you're not, I don't know, like your struggle isn't like valid or anything, but just I feel like
Hmm.
it's a really common experience to like when you're kind of easily defeated because of what you're
Hmm.
telling yourself. It's just kind of hard to go to
Hmm.
therapy. And yeah, because I always feel
Hmm.
like I've experienced that as well, as when I'm like, oh, like why am I like this? I hate this. Like,
Hmm.
why is my
Hmm.
brain like this? Why would anyone want to put up with this?
Hmm.
And then you just start to get like
Hmm.
super self-hating. And
Hmm.
honestly, it's easier to be self-hating, I feel like, than it is to love
Yeah.
yourself.
Hmm.
um because it's
Yeah, it
just easier to
is.
give up than it is to keep going and
Yeah.
have it be hard,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah. Hmm.
um
Just kind of, yeah, just being like, there's gonna be like hard moments no matter what. Like,
yeah.
it's still tough because you're just like, I just want everything to be perfect forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then, I
but
don't know about you, but
that's not
like
life.
there was one point, throughout me, especially this past year, going through more
Hmm.
consistent therapy, I was like starting to really like blame my parents a lot for
Hmm.
kind of the way that I am. Um,
Hmm.
but I just realized that it's not really helping me necessarily to hold that much anger towards them because
Hmm. Hmm.
they support me and they always have, just in the way that
Hmm.
they were shown and not necessarily
Right.
the way I needed it to be shown. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Do you ever feel like that? Have you ever gotten into that kind
No,
of?
I was going to say that's like exactly like how I feel. It's like I feel like me moving far away from like my mom kind of helped to like rebuild like the relationship that we had. So when I started like realizing like issues from like my childhood and things like that, and realizing like a lot of it had to do with just kind of like rejection from like my primary like caregiver, which was like my mom, like it it was like a upsetting, but it was more like validating because I'm like, okay, well, I can draw like the pattern of like how I was treated then and what's triggering me like now. And while I was like upset, I feel like I wasn't upset as much at her as I was like upset by just like the fact that like I was like I had a harder childhood than I like gave myself credit for. Like I was always like, oh, everything's fine. Like I had everything like I needed except like the type of emotional support that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because I was so far from her and I was able to grow to like really like love her again, like I didn't come down as heavy on her like when all of this started to like I guess be revealed to me or just started to click. And I think like I also was just like kind of what you said, like that was probably all she knew too, which made me kind of feel bad for her. Because I'm just like, if that was all you had, like then you probably felt a lot like me, and
Yeah.
like that sucks too. And yeah,
What's it
so
called?
I feel like I didn't.
What's that expression? Like hurt people, or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah, that's the one. And or everyone's doing the best they can with the tools that they have. Like so I try and say like she did the best that she could and she just didn't have the tools that I would have wanted her to have to like raise me in the way that I feel like I needed. But like I mean, it's like if you're not taught how are you gonna like learn? Because not everybody, most people I feel like back then are just like you just have kids and like you just raise them. Like I feel like now a lot of people are like really looking into like, and there's more studies too, like looking into like science and like studies and things like that. And there's so much more information out there about like what like kids need as opposed to like when they were growing up slash when they were like raising us. So I feel like the next couple generations might be a little better off. Not everyone, but some of them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think generally it seems like society is getting better. I don't know. That's just such a big
I know,
that's
it's
such
like
a broad
sometimes it
statement. I
feels
don't
like
know.
they are, and then sometimes it feels like it's not. Like, it's like, yeah,
I think
there's no way to
as a
tell.
whole, compared to like 2,000 years ago, yeah, we're definitely
Okay, yeah, if we're
better
gonna go back that
off. I think that like
far,
every 100 years
pre-medicine.
or so, we have a little decline, but like, I mean, really,
Yeah,
in the past like 120 years, I think that a lot of technology and innovation has been made. So, um,
yeah. I mean, you can even look in like the past like 30
oh
years.
yeah, yeah, the internet is still kind of new. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not,
Ugh.
yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty new. It's weird.
Um,
It's like new, but there's so much going on with it now. It's
I
like,
know, I
stop.
know. Yeah, I remember when it was just like Neopets, or when I was just on Neopets. That was the
Hmm.
I don't know as much about generalized anxiety disorder as I do about OCD,
Hmm.
but like generalized
Hmm.
anxiety disorder, you have anxiety obviously, but like also rumination is
Yeah.
very common, which is just kind of like going
Hmm.
down rabbit holes and like questioning
Yeah.
what do things mean about me,
Hmm.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Or is there anything else that you felt like you did that falls under that kind of umbrella of internal rituals, I guess?
Hmm. Oh, internal rituals.
Again, not saying
Hmm.
I'm not trying to diagnose you. I'm just curious because
No,
that's
no. I like, I don't know if I ever actually like thought in like that kind of way, like just as like an internal ritual, as like something that like I do. Because I did know that I ruminated a lot. And like I would like Google articles like how to make it stop, like how to stop yourself from doing that. Um, I can't really think right now of anything, but like I will take that question with me because now I feel like there are, but I feel like since I've never asked myself that question or like paid that much thought to it, like I don't
mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Another thing that my
Hmm.
my therapist likes to tell me, because sometimes I'll come at her again. This is I'm always using coming at the wrong way, but I kind of am coming at her with these questions. I'll be like,
Yeah.
so recently I read about post traumatic relationship disorder or something like that. I don't even know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
post betrayal syndrome or something. I'll just like I'll
Oh,
come.
I've never heard of that
I
before.
know, right? It's basically a term
Yeah.
for like the long-lasting effects of betrayal. Either like someone
Oh.
cheated on you or someone lied to
Hmm.
you for a very long time and then you kind of become
Hmm. Yeah.
distrustful of other people. And I was like, I
Yeah.
think I have post-betrayal syndrome. And I was like telling
Hmm.
her about it and like I was telling her like maybe I'm also just a highly sensitive person and maybe I have PTSD. I don't know. And I'm just like putting all these
Hmm.
labels on myself and she's like,
Yeah.
like she's like our brains really like to categorize things. Like we really really want to just put a label on everything because then it'll
Yeah.
make it feel like more real or like we just want to like categorize things. But like sometimes, it's not necessarily helpful to do that and then it's kind
Hmm.
of like you're just constantly seeking answers and honestly it was getting a little bit obsessive. It's like I need to
Hmm.
figure out what's wrong
Yeah.
with me, everything. And I need to
Right.
like label
Yeah.
exactly what it is so I can figure out exactly what it
Yeah.
is. So,
Right. Yeah. I've totally done that. Like, 'cause the same. At first, I was like, "Is it depression?" And then as I like started digging deeper, I was like, "Do I have like BPD?" And then I was just like,
borderline,
"Do I
right?
have CPT?"
Dude,
Yeah.
I
And
thought the
then
same thing.
I was
I was
But then I was like, oh, maybe I don't have that. Maybe I have childhood PTSD. And then like, yeah, I was just trying to find something because I'm like, just make it make sense or like
right. Like,
just
why am
make
I
what I'm
like this?
feeling like real. Yeah, because I guess it like felt like if I couldn't like be diagnosed, then like I was just making it up or like I was just over dramatic. So like there was like a point where I was just like Googling all of these things and trying to figure out what do I have? Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, now I'm like not super worried about it. I'm just kind of like, I don't know, like I might, sometimes like, and then I'm just,
Well,
I was like, do I have anxiety and all of this stuff, which like I probably have somewhat, like, I feel like
yeah.
at a point, like, everybody's got some somewhat, like,
Well, yeah.
it's,
I mean,
yeah.
it's just easy just because you're trying to figure out like what's going on, and
Right. I mean, that was also, yeah, that was also a thing. Because I'm like, if I could figure out like what the specifics are, then like maybe I can figure out the way to fix it. Because like I just kept being like, if I can just fix it, like there's got to be like an end. Like I don't know. I had this idea that there will just be like everything will be solved, and then I'll be a whole human being, and like nothing will be wrong, but it's kind of like accepting like, oh, well, you're just gonna be working on stuff like, and it's just gonna
yeah.
keep going. What do they say? What is that thing? I think I had just said that like the last time I was at your house, not that long ago.
I don't
Um,
know.
it was
Was
like,
it a quote?
Oh no, like I forgot. Yeah, it was a quote. Like people say it like all the time.
Just keep
Healing
swimming.
isn't
Oh,
linear. Yeah.
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 I don't know. Something that just
I mean, same. Like you should keep swimming. But yeah, healing isn't
that's
linear, right?
yeah.
So I'm like, I keep thinking I'm gonna get to like some finish line, and like, I have to keep reminding myself like that it doesn't
Yeah.
exist. Like, you're just gonna kind of struggle sometimes, hunty. Like, you get used to it.
That's so true.
It's like, oh, but I don't want to squuggle. Like, I just want everything to be easy.
I know.
But like, yeah, that's.
I mean, it's hard
Mhm.
because also, like, with any kind of mental health disorder, there are comorbidities, like coexisting conditions, slash, just a lot of overlap between. I mean, usually a person who has
Yeah. Hmm.
like OCD is more predisposed to also having depression and anxiety, and like a person with depression and anxiety might
Hmm.
also display symptoms of like BPD and also like
Hmm.
OCD, you know? So it's like
Yeah.
sometimes the Venn
Uh-huh.
diagram is there's just too many Venn diagrams going on and you don't know which one you identify with most. So then it's kind of like yeah,
Hmm.
I'm kind of like right now, I'm kind of aware that generally I've go through depressive episodes in my life that I'm generally overthinking and then I also have tendencies where I lose things a lot and I'm late to everything and I stop paying attention in the middle of conversation
Hmm.
and everything like that. So I'm like I could probably seek an
Hmm.
ADHD diagnosis. But I
Hmm.
don't I don't it's too much. Like I think I'm okay with right now just like, OCD and that's I'm gonna just leave it at
Yeah.
that. And I think part of it
Yeah.
though, I do worry that part of it is because I don't know how you feel about this, but sometimes like I feel like people perceive people who have multiple mental health disorders as attention seeking
Hmm.
and like you're making it all up.
Mm.
So I am a little
Hmm.
bit wary of that as well as like
Hmm.
if I was like I'm diagnosed with OCD, ADHD, PTSD, CPTSD, BPD, body
Yeah.
dysmorphia. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of it's like a
Yeah.
collection of
Mm.
diagnoses. Whereas like
Hmm.
to me, I think the the basis of a lot of my other mental health issues has been because of OCD patterns. So I'll
Yeah.
probably stick to that
Hmm.
for now.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely, like you said, there's just like a lot of overlap for sure. Because the brain is just so funny in that way. It's not just clean cut. Like, it's just this one thing. Usually, everything there's just a lot of things that just kind of connect whenever it has any type of like stress that causes all of those types of things.
Yeah.
And yeah, honestly, I know what you mean though when you were like about the listing like the entire list of like everything. And I feel like the only thing that I would think is like if someone like had like a super long list is that like I would wonder if they thought that oh, what was the word that I wanted to use? I would wonder if they thought that was like their identity. You know,
Mm,
it feels like it's
that's
like
true.
you're putting too much weight on that stuff to like tell a story about who you are. And if that's like the only story that you're really saying about who you are, then it's like,
That's true.
oh,
Yeah.
that's not all that you're made up of, though. You
Right.
know, that's what I would think. It
Yeah.
kind of just feels like it's like, well, what else though? Like outside of that kind of thing, like
Right.
it's not the only part of you. Like it's just a piece.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think
Hmm.
I am definitely really aware of that when it comes to, advocating for mental health and OCD. I try to keep it
Hmm.
general sometimes because I'm like, I don't want to make my whole identity about having mental health issues or like having
Hmm.
OCD or whatever. I mean, I do
Right.
other things in life, that's not just me.
You
Um,
literally do way too much. You do so much stuff. I'm just like, wow, I just watch Eric and I'm just like, I could never.
I'm
You're
barely.
crazy with all the things that you're able to keep up with.
Yeah. I don't
It's
know.
like I have a long list of things that I want to do, but like I can't do them all at the same time. I'm like, I have to do them like one or two at a time.
Yeah, I mean that's
I'm
probably
so
the
bad at
healthier
balancing stuff.
way to
I'm
live.
like literally.
So.
I feel like it's like unproductive sometimes though. I feel like I take so many breaks, but
Eh.
I'm at the same time I'm just like it feels good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it makes you happier to do it.
Uh,
I mean, I definitely feel like this year I've tried to set some boundaries for myself and quit certain things that were bringing a lot more stress than they
mhm,
did any kind of fulfillment, like baking, which is just so the
mm,
opposite because
mhm.
most people like to bake to relax, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
associate it with so much stress. I'm just like, oh.
yeah. Uh-huh.
um, Mostly
I
because I
feel that.
bake at
I
like
feel like
the
yeah.
end of the night until the middle of the night, so that was my own fault, I
That's
guess.
right. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. Um,
I remember our conversation. You were like baking at like like 1 a.m.
yeah. Oh my
And
god.
I was like, "Dang, girl."
I don't even know. I mean, honestly, I don't even feel like I had that much energy anymore. Yeah, this was literally like 6 months ago when I was doing this.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Hmm.
It was like I was overusing the empty tank, on like
Yeah,
when your
yeah.
car gets like empty, but you still have a few miles left. Like I was really pushing it.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Running on fumes.
yeah, exactly. I'm like thinking now. Now my attention has gone back to this BPD thing, right? Um, so
Hmm.
borderline personality disorder. I'm just kind of interested
Yeah.
in it overall because, like, even though I have kind of let that go, I still sometimes come back to that
Hmm.
page every once in a while on Google because
Hmm.
like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I feel like I just have problems with emotional regulation in general, and I
Yeah,
definitely
yeah. Me
have a
too.
huge like fear of abandonment and stuff like that, which a lot
Hmm.
of people do.
Yeah, same.
So it's kind of like, again,
Hmm.
like, am I any worse than other people, or is it just, I'm looking for things to be wrong? So I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I know. Like, that's like another thing. When I'd read those, I would always be like, am I bad enough though to be considered it? Like, how bad do I have to be in order for this to be possible? Like, how do I like rate like my personal experience like based off of like this cold list of things that they're giving me? And
Mm,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
right.
like I don't know.
Which I guess is that in
I
that
feel like
case, it's better to go to just like an actual professional because they'd probably be able to tell the difference.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what I ended up doing is like just they like made like reading and looking into all of this stuff like made me more aware of like certain things about myself, and because of that I was able to like pinpoint like triggers and like feelings and like patterns of like behavior a little bit more, and like from there I was able to look a little bit harder at things because I feel like when I first was going to therapy, like I feel like now looking back, I like don't even know like what I didn't know like what was wrong like at all, or like what like even how to like describe like anything that was like really happening. It was very surface level. Like I just want to be able to like I don't know, like communicate better and like dealing with my big feelings and stuff. But I feel like that was just like the tip of the iceberg. And I feel like for me to have really, I feel like if I go back to therapy like now, it would be so much more like productive because I know so much more about like myself and like my patterns and like things that trigger me and stuff that I'd be able to like talk it out like better. I feel like it would have taken like so many like appointments to even get to like that point, which like I probably could have like done it then in the same time it took me to do it at this point. But like I said, I have a hard time opening up, and I just didn't want to talk about myself. I still kind of am like that. Like I don't really like talking too much about like, myself to people.
Hmm. Yeah.
Which is like, why am I doing this?
So I think I'm gonna wrap this up because it has been about an hour. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm gonna end this with a typical question that I normally ask people on this podcast. What is something that you'll do this week to show yourself kindness?
Oh, what should I do? I've been, this is something I just started doing, but I think I'm going to start doing it more. It's like I I give myself like little compliments and encouragement. So like I had said, I've been like starting like little embroidery
Yeah.
things, and I actually do have like hoops and things like that. And I like have like a list that I was just like wrote to myself that was like, hey, like you're doing this new thing and like you're doing such a great job. You've never done it before and like look at you learning like these new stitches and all of these things. So I kind of just like recognizing like the things that I'm doing well, I think, and like actually writing it out so that I can, instead of just thinking about it, so I can go back and like remind myself, like it's kind of like encouragement. Because I feel like I normally would just be like, ugh, like I suck at this. Because I did try and do a embroidery like, oh, this is the first time I was trying it after like for like a really long time. I always liked the idea, but then I was like, no, that's like not for me. Like I sucked at it last time. Or I'm always just like, oh, like you take so long to do this or figure this out. So instead, I'm just going to be like, hey, like this is like something that's new and like you're doing a really good job. And like, hey, that stitch that you did was like super neat and like things like that. Just kind of like as a change to like the, oh, you suck. And also to encourage myself to keep doing things because I feel like I want to try like a lot of things and then I like give up on them because I convince myself that I'm not good at them. But also like if you're just starting, you can never be good. Like Jake from Adventure Time says, sucking at something is the first step to being kind of good at it.
Hmm,
I think he said something like
that's
that.
true.
So I'm just like, yeah. So I feel like writing those things out as opposed to like just thinking things. It allows me to be more patient with myself and then allows me to kind of have like little encouragements to keep going. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think I had the list of things I'm proud of or something like that. I think it's on a note on my phone.
Yeah. It's kind of like words of affirmation for yourself.
Yeah, right. It's like I go on and off with those. There's like sometimes where I'm like really good. I'm doing my affirmations every day, and then suddenly I forget about them, and then like 2 weeks later, I'm like, I should do my affirmations again. I felt so good when I was doing those. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
It's
have
like
I have a
routines. I fall out of them.
yeah, I have a poster on my wall that I like literally do not I haven't said a word of them of the affirmations
Hmm.
in months. Maybe I'll say one
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I love myself. Oh, it's so hard for me to say these things like unsarcastically.
Yeah, like ones like that, like so ones like that are like too direct, like I have a hard time with, but I did see somebody say once, like if saying things like that is like hard, you can say like something like I'm learning to love myself or I'm ready to love myself or something like that, kind of like opening the door to like the love to come in. Like even if you're like kind of hesitant, it's like sticking your toe in. It's like I'm ready to accept myself and things like that. Kind of like that's like the first step. And
Mm.
then later on, maybe you can say things like, I accept myself without it feeling like a lie. But then there's some people who say just say it through it, like even if it feels like a lie.
Mm-hmm.
I try and do ones that are like I'm trying to think of one of them right now and I'm totally blanking. But yeah, maybe I'll send you some of the ones that I like to say and see
Yeah.
if you like them too.
Yeah,
I
do
literally
it.
can't think of them right now.
Yeah, do it. I sometimes I
Hmm.
do like try to I feel like I've stopped saying like affirmations just kind of randomly, I guess, but they're more so
Hmm.
when I catch myself starting to berate myself, that's when I kind
Hmm.
of step in with I just start to think,
Hmm.
would I talk to my friend this way? Probably not.
Right,
So
yeah.
I
That's
shouldn't.
always like a good one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, and it's like if I am talking to my
Hmm.
friends this way, that's a problem too. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So, yeah. I mean, yeah. That's usually how I weasel it in. Is more practically when it comes up in a situation where I've
Hmm.
done something.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you want to add before we end
Yeah.
this?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. All right.
Sweet.
Well, yeah. Thanks, Tara, for being on this podcast slash show. And
Yeah.
yeah, I will see y'all next time. This is Erica from the Just Say Maybe podcast. And I hope you're all doing well. Bye.